Ipswich had built a stand, and they had to pay a lot of, obviously the payments for the loans and everything else. Bobby's like, no, he says, you've got to go. We need the payment for the stand. And I said, I don't want to go. He says, no, you've got to go. And I says, look, I don't want to go. I want to stay. He says, you're bloody well going, so you're going. You get used to it. And I'm thinking, well, Man United haven't been in at all, because Man United, no, I'm not being big-headed here, but Man United had tapped me up for 3 years. And I knew where I was going to stay. I knew what school the kids were going to go to. I knew all about Manchester. He his team talk was like, we'd sit down and he'd come in with Walter, and he would say, he says, if your concentration levels are good, he says, you win the game. If they're not good, you'll lose the game. Make sure your concentration levels are good. And then he walked out. And then we all went, right, he's gone now. And then Walter would give us a real team talk. And then off we go with Walter. You mark him and you do this and you take that and we're doing this and doing that. So.
Well, Naisy, we managed to get rid of someone from that neck of the woods, but we've replaced him with an absolute legend from the same neck of the woods, Terry Butcher.
Well, don't put me in the same part as Kris Sutton, I tell you.
East Anglia.
Yeah.
East Anglia.
Put me in a darkened room and I'll batter him if I can. Together. Still, yeah.
Still.
No, it's a lovely, quiet area, East Anglia, and there's lots of good restaurants and bars and all that sort of thing, good entertainment, but it takes a hell of a lot to get to Norwich and to Ipswich. So,
certainly does.
Well, let's go back to the start. Born in Singapore, how did you end up in England?
My dad was in the Navy, based in Singapore, and my mum went out to join him. And I'd like to say I was conceived in Suffolk, but I don't think that's the case, according to my dad. But no, I was born out there, and we moved after 2 years. We moved back, and my dad then left the Navy and became a prison officer and settled back in their old town, which was Lowestoft. And we ended up back there.
Started off at Ipswich.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, I love me football. The best thing my parents ever did was buy me a leather football with the laces on. That's how old I am. And I used to run and kick the ball and play 1-2s off the wall and that sort of thing on the way to school. And I was the most popular kid at school because I had a ball and it was my team and I picked the team. And then we play at break times and all that sort of thing. So I love football. I just wanted to do that. I only got 1A level because I was playing football all the time. But I love my sports. I wanted to be a professional footballer, but I was just wary of pushing myself too much because I didn't want somebody to turn around and say, sorry, son, you're not good enough, clear off. That would have absolutely killed me. So I didn't push myself forward. I was never spotted. I played for Suffolk schoolboys under 15s for 2 years, under 19s for 2 years. And we played some good sides, particularly Essex. A lot of boys play for Essex that went on to have great careers. So it was a case of just plodding on, and my mum got me a place in Trent Polytechnic in Nottingham as a quantity surveyor. I didn't have a clue what a quantity surveyor is. Do you know what a quantity surveyor is?
I know what one is now, yeah. I didn't know when I was younger, though.
No, but I didn't have a clue. So, but the thing about it was, in Nottingham, there were 5 girls to 1 boy. So I thought, that'll do me. So that's why I went along. Sign me up.
So it's nothing to do with the quantity surveying?
No, but they kept it open for a year. When I went to Ipswich at 17, and a signed professional because I was 17, which was a real honour after a trial. And then I obviously didn't need it. But there were times, particularly in the second year at Ipswich, when I wanted to give the game up because in those days the coaches were so aggressive and it was verbal abuse, really. I mean, it was so intense. I was called every nickname under the sun. I was effing this and effing that sort of thing. I thought Bobby Robson.
So see, at that point, are you a big prospect or seen as somebody that could have a career, or
no,
not at all?
No,
not in your mind, but by others. Like now, you said you never pushed yourself.
Yeah.
Was that the thought of the coaches as well, and it just happened, or were you better than you thought yourself?
Well, I mean, the signed professional forms. Charlie Woods was my youth team coach. He's from Newcastle. They're all Geordies. The coaching side, they're tough as teak. And he said to me after I've signed, he says, "Oh, you signed then, son?" And I says, "Yeah." I says, "I'm glad to be here." He says, "Well, I'll tell you what, son, I don't know why we've signed you." He says, "You can't kick the ball, head the ball, pass the ball, control the ball." He says, "In fact, you're useless." He said, and I thought, my God, this is great.
I'm going to severe.
My God. But I thought, well, I'm signed already. I can't go. So then I had to go out. He says, "Go outside and underneath the concourses of the stadium, all concrete, get a ball and kick a ball against the wall and control on your thigh, on your chest and the headers so that the ball is then your friend." And for 20 minutes every day. and I did it for 20 minutes every day. So I was very comfortable left and right foot, but more left foot than right foot. So there weren't that many spaces available. Well, there were lots of spaces available for left-footed players. There was a shortage of them. So in the end, I was quite lucky to be around at that time. And I was originally right-footed, but I dropped a teapot of hot water on my left foot. So then I had to I became left-footed. That was just fate. I wouldn't get any parents or grandparents to do that to their young children. Don't do that. But no, there was a bit of luck.
How quickly did you progress at that point to become a first-team player?
Well, we were the under-18s, South East Counties League. We won it quite comfortably that year because with Russell Osman, we became an England international. Myself, obviously, and Alan Brazil. He scored 40 goals that year. Great player. Supported the wrong team, unfortunately, but he was a great player. We were fortunate because in those days, Bobby Robson had a sort of conveyor belt of young players coming through. And people ahead of me, like George Burley, Johnny Walk, Eric Gates, a lot of good players that went on to be international. So he had some great scouts and a scouting system that got these boys on. And it was just frightening. But the coaches must have thought that I had a chance.
Yeah.
But the way that they put their point of view over, I had no chance whatsoever. So I was very lucky, but when I did get the break, it's like most things in football, you get a break, you got to take it.
You mentioned the name there, Bobby Robson. How big an influence did he have, not only your football career, but you as a person?
Oh, yeah, great. He was the major influence. I mean, his coaches were very good, Bobby Ferguson, Charlie Woods, but Bobby was the one that I admired because I was an Ipswich fan. I used to come along with my milk crate and stand in the Churchman stand, the South stand, and watch Ipswich play from a very early age. So to sign a professional form at the club you support is it's just incredible, isn't it? So I had that, but you sort of think I've got to progress. When I looked at the people that were ahead of me, Dale Roberts, Kevin Beattie, Alan Hunter, John Penalty, there was loads of players ahead of me, and you never think you're going to do it, do you? You think, well, I've got no chance here. And then you just keep going and keep going and keep going. And when you're told you're going to make your debut, it's everything you dreamed of. And at that time, I was prepared properly as a player. But you know what it's like when you come from schoolboy football into a professional side, you've got to play a professional way, not the amateur way. Because I believe it or not, they soon got this out of my system. I used to pick players up that I'd knocked over and smashed and say sorry. Yeah, say sorry. But keep that quiet.
Nobody would ever thought that. Right?
No, I mean, it was my dad. My dad brought me up that way.
Yeah. So just on Sir Bobby Robson, you say he was such a big influence. Like, what was it about him? What was his best traits for you?
Well, he didn't know my Christian name. Like I said, he was effing butcher this and effing butcher that. So, no. But he was, when he spoke to you one-to-one, and he was very good with one-to-ones, his man management was excellent. He'd make you feel 10 feet tall. He'd make you feel that you could, go through brick walls for him. And that's what we tried to do, and repay his faith in us. And he's very loyal as a manager. He was very, very good to reward you if you did well. And he was the real figurehead of the club. He knew everything about the club. How many toilet rolls are in the away dressing room and all this sort of thing. And he'd keep the check on your family. He knew the names of your family. He knew the names of the families, but not the names of his players. He just called them different names. So it was really a family, really, because it was a small town, provincial town, but it had the possibility of conquering Europe, which we did, won the UEFA Cup, and also conquering England. We got to the semi-final in '81 of the FA Cup. We got to we finished second to Villa when they won the title in '81. So we could have had a treble. I know you're used to trebles up here with Rangers, but it's a special thing, isn't it? And you sort of think, can we do this? We played 66 games that season, and I played 64. Russell played 66. I couldn't play the other two because I was suspended, believe it or not. So it was a real family place, and he was the figurehead. And
How did he create? I mean, you look at you listen to a lot of managers now, and especially younger ones, where all these buzzwords are churned out. Manager after manager will use the same thing. But you go back then, and I know the squads weren't as big as what they are nowadays. But how did he manage to create Sir Bobby Robson? How did he manage to create that family feel? That togetherness that obviously took you on to success.
Yeah, Yeah, he was very much ahead of his time. I mean, he built teams, then dismantled them, sold players. He didn't sign a lot of players at all, hardly anyone. But then he would build the team again, and he built the team when he first got there, and he had literally had a few fights with the players. Physically, had to have a go. He was that way inclined. It's Geordie, and so he was very much a case of seeing if everybody was okay. And if he said you're okay, then you're okay. You're okay, boss. I'm fine. But he would see things. He wouldn't so much take the training, or he'd like to do that. He's a good coach, but he'd watch the players, and he would step in at times and take players apart. And he made you feel really good. And he made it feel an honour to be at the club, let alone in the team. And when he picked the team and everything, it was I'm in there.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't think I deserved to be there, as you do. But I'm going to show him.
Why did you have so much doubt about yourself?
As you do, is it mentally? That came back to me when I was younger, where I thought I wouldn't make it, wasn't confident enough. But he gave you that confidence, and the more that you played, the more confident you felt. And then when he became England manager, I had 1976 all the way through to 1990, 14 years with Bobby as my boss. Mm-hmm. We used to bump into each other because I lived near him, or he lived near me in Ipswich. It was quite small. And he had a lovely dog, Roger. It was a spaniel, and he would walk Roger, and I'd walk my dog, and we'd sort of bump into each other. And then we'd walk back together, and he was talking football all the time. He was football sort of thing, and he got really involved. And then I was just near in my house sort of thing, so I went down the drive, and he followed me. He took his dog in and followed me. And I thought, does he want a cup of tea or something like this? He's the England manager then. So I walked up to the door, and I says, Gaffer, you know where you are? He says, oh yeah. He says, well, we're talking about this. I says, Gaffer, I live here. You live up the hill. Go up the hill, Gaffer. Just go. Yeah, thanks very much for the chat, but just go. He went, oh, yeah, fine. And then went. Because he had football on the brain all the time. I mean, it was amazing.
You're speaking about the doubt there. You get into the Ipswich first team. You're doing really well. You obviously get a phone call from Ron Greenwood for England. How do you make that step up? How do you feel confident?
Well, I played a few games to the under-21, so I knew the England setup and what it was like. So yeah, but to get your call up to go and play is immense. Unfortunately, it was in Australia, and so you couldn't really ask your family to come out and watch it, as you wanted to do. You wanted the family to go and watch you play for England. So we flew out to Australia, to Sydney, on a Thursday, played the game on a Saturday, flew back on the Sunday. That was a really flying visit, and to get your first cap was lovely. It was supposed to be a B cap, but he made it.
See that
a full cap.
That doubt, and that you say your upbringing and the coach has been tough on you. At what point in your career, your playing career, does that change and you actually go, do you know what? I'm an England internationalist. I'm competing at the top level. I'm the captain. Like, what moment? When does that moment come?
It never did for me. I was still waiting for it. No.
Wow.
I never felt that I'm one of the best players. Obviously, with age, you get to be one of the senior players in the group, and I became a captain. I was only captain 7 times, and Souness brought me up to make me captain of Rangers, but I hadn't captained England at that time. It was only a year later that I started. I played Yugoslavia, but to be a captain was brilliant. The hardest thing was remembering the players' names to introduce them to the guests of honour. That was the hardest thing. I thought I'm going to get their name wrong. They'll kill me. But no, I never felt secure. Even 1990, when I was in the World Cup in Italy, I thought I wasn't going to play because I wasn't playing particularly well.
I suppose that would have had a positive impact, that you always felt, I need to perform here. I need to perform here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, did you have that feeling as well, that you've got to really push yourself, otherwise you might get dropped or anything like that?
I think you do, but also I think there comes a stage where you feel as if I can't be dropped. If you're scoring goals on a regular basis, and that's why I was. The question will come ask you back. You had a fantastic career, but do you think you could have had a better career if you had more belief in your ability?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I used to. There were times when I'd play at home, especially, and my dad would be there. He's always there, And he would say, well played, son, you were magnificent tonight. And I went, no, I wasn't. I should have done this, I should have done that. And I'd name about 3 or 4 things that would bug me because I didn't do them how I wanted to do them, how I should have done them. There's a biography of Bobby Robson, More Than a Manager. And you want to watch that, that's a really good thing. And he's on there. We're in the dressing room after the game. I'm getting dressed, putting my because you had to wear a shirt and tie. So I wear that for the games. I'm putting my tie on, sort of thing. And Bobby comes over to me and he gives me an absolute rollicking right in front of the cameras. And they put it out. He's on there. And I'm thinking, that's typical Bobby. He paints me in a bad light, but there is the way it was. But it was. I did one thing wrong towards the end of the game, and we could have lost the goal and therefore lost the win. And I made a bad mistake, allowing the ball to run out, and then the guy come round and crossed the ball, and this guy missed an open goal. And it was like one of those ones. And there's always one thing that would stop me from thinking.
You were always striving for perfection.
I want perfection all the time. You know you're never going to get it, but I was striving to be perfect for Bobby, especially, and for Ipswich, and England as well. Yeah.
We'll move on to England in a little time. But that move to Rangers, 19, Ipswich get relegated, must have broke your heart. But then you get a call. Well, from Graeme Souness to come to Rangers.
Well, I was a skipper and we went down, and it's a horrible thing for getting relegated anyway, but being a skipper, you feel massively responsible, even more. So you couldn't raise the troops. But we lost a multitude of international players from 81 all the way down to 86. So I'd signed a new contract in 85, I'd signed a new contract. So it was a 4-year deal, and I wanted to stay. So I went into the manager's office. He was Bobby Ferguson at that time, after we got relegated, and then just sat there, and both of us just cried. Both the manager and me just cried because we'd been relegated. And it was a horrible feeling, but particularly when it's your club you support. You don't ever want that, particularly from the heights that we were in 80, 81 and all that. So he said, right, son, he says, Ipswich had built a stand, and they had to pay a lot of, obviously the payments for the loans and everything else like that. And that's why a lot of the players left, the top players. But I wanted to stay as a captain and all that sort of thing. I wanted to help to bring the team back up. That would be a real, so, you're responsible for going down. You want to be responsible for helping the boys up the league. So I went there and he says, Bobby's like, no, he says, you've got to go. We need the payment for the stand. And I said, I don't want to go. He says, no, you've got to go. And I says, look, I don't want to go. I want to stay. He says, you're bloody well going. So you're going. You get used to it. You're going.
I'm driving you.
Yeah.
How does that then happen? How does the move come about? You first hear about it. What goes on?
Well, there was a bit of interest. But what Bobby said was, there's a Mexico World Cup. Go and play the World Cup. Do your very best for your country and and for your career. He said, wish you all the best. So I said, okay, fine. But then there's no news. And we're out there, and Chris Woods was out there. He was one of the substitute goalkeepers for Peter Shilton. And when there was a journalist out there as well that was helping Graeme Souness to put a team together at Rangers. And Chris Woods, we sort of released that he was going. It was Colin West, then it was Chris Woods. And then the journalist contacted me and he said that you're available, and the gaffer wants to talk to you and wants to see you. And I was like, wow, that was really nice. But I've got this job on my hands now with the World Cup. Let's get this done.
Who was it, Chick Young?
No, it wasn't Chick Young. No, it wasn't Chick Young. I never met Chick Young. If I'd met Chick Young, I probably wouldn't have come up. No. So I then went back to England afterwards, and he eventually came up with the money, and it was cash as well. It wasn't just in bits and pieces as most clubs did at that time. It was cash, and Ipswich were happy. And I'm thinking, well, Man United haven't been in at all, because Man United, no, I'm not being big-headed here, but Man United had tapped me up for 3 years. And I knew where I was going to stay. I knew what school the kids were going to go to. I knew all about Manchester, from Brian Robson as well. He would tap me up. So I thought, well, it's going to get done, but it never got done. And I waited, and never got done. And then Souness came in, bang, agreed, and I came up to Ibrox.
Did you need to say much for you? Because you're an England internationalist. Coming to Scotland might not have been seen as the biggest move, as you said there. Man United try to tap you up.
But English clubs are out of Europe. Remember, they were banned from the high school.
So then, does that have a big impact?
It had a little bit of an impact, but not the main reason. The main reason was you wanted to do, you wanted to, for the family to be happy. You wanted to be happy as well. It's a big club, because I knew how big Rangers was from people within Ipswich that were Scottish. an Irish, Northern Irish. They told me all about it. We played Rangers in a friendly and won 2-1. Johnny Walk scored 2 goals, and his family never spoke to him for a month because he was a big Rangers fan. But I've seen the staircase, the entrance. I've seen it and been there in the dressing room. So I knew all about it, and I thought, well, Souness was up there, and it was the revolution sort of thing. And I thought, if Souness wants you, you got to go, because if that's a real high standard of decision making, a real, you sort of think, I want to do that and be with him, because I tried to kick him up in the air all my career and I couldn't do it.
Him.
So I thought, if you can't beat him, join him. So we came up.
So how did that conversation go about?
I was up there. I trained a couple of days, hadn't signed, and I was on the Albion. Remember the Albion? You know that pitch, or 2 pitches. And I trained with him, and Coops was a breath of fresh air for me. It was something different. I hadn't seen anybody like that really for a long time. And, eventually got through the sort of grumpy exterior and got through to him. And I said, look, I think I'm going to sign, Davie. I said, if I sign on that, do you think that we can win the league? And he said, no danger. And he said, I know that we know the gaffer's going to sign some more players and all that sort of thing. I think it will be big. And if Davie Cooper says that, I sort of think, wow, that's really good.
Well, and then what year then? So you play, you understand, you see the stadium, but then you've signed, you're part of the team. First impressions, what are you thinking?
Massive. I didn't realise how big it was. I just couldn't believe the extent of it. And you look at what it is now. And last week I was in Ibrox, and what they've done internally is just phenomenal compared to what I knew. Major. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, well, obviously this wasn't done, but what it had was potential, and what it had was the fans, it had the stadium, and it's now getting the players to come on. And you sort of think this is going to be big.
But what parts of it did you underestimate?
The passion of the fans, the actual passion of football, the scrutiny in Scotland. It's bigger than Ipswich, bigger than England in terms of per head and all that sort of thing, and where it is intense. And you eventually saw that after many games. We didn't start the season well. Souness sent off in the first game, and then we lost against Dundee United 3-2. So we lost the first 2 out of the first 3. So we didn't start particularly well, but we knew that it was going to be right. And the more you train with the players and the more you saw them, the pre-season we had. There was a really good spirit there. There was a lot of winners, a lot of players, with younger players coming through, Durante and Derek Ferguson's coming through. And all.
Could you even tell within them that they had the mentality?
Oh, yeah.
At that young age?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, you could see it. You could see the tenacity, the hunger, the drive of these younger players in particular. And then you have the experience, because there's a lot of internationals within Rangers at the time as well. So you're on a different level, and then Jimmy Nicholl would come in, and Graham Roberts would come in, and Mark Walton. It was just wow. It's just like a who's who sort of thing.
We've seen maybe not so much back in your day, but in recent times there's been a lot of so-called big names arrive in Scottish football and struggle. You're saying you kind of lacked confidence within yourself at the start of your career. You then make that move to Rangers. There's scrutiny. We know there's scrutiny. Was there any moment where you thought to yourself, have I made the right decision here?
Never thought that. Yeah. Even when I got a criminal record.
Well, come on to that.
Never. Well, he actually gave us a choice. Since the 3 of us, he said, look, if you want to go, I'd understand it, and we'll get things sorted out.
Wow.
And none of us said we want to go. We want to stay. I was the first one to say, no, I'm staying. What are you on about?
What's your biggest what's the things that stick in your mind, game-wise, performance-wise?
I think the first game I played was against Bayern Munich in a pre-season friendly.
Not a bad one.
Not a bad one. And it was going out in the tunnel and just hearing the fans and seeing the fans. Because I always used to go out as a captain. Obviously, you lead. But I always used to think, I'm going to run out here. I'm going to sprint out. And I said to the lads, right, I'm going to sprint out. And my biggest fear was that they'd leave me and let me go on my own. Because some of you have done this, haven't you? You would do that. You're strikers, you would do that. And just let him go on his own and look a right book. So I was looking over my shoulders, but I was sprinting. I was out there. But I thought, if you show the crowd that you're ready for it, because there's I ready is on the badge, ready for it, and the crowd, and the noise, whoosh, and went up. And I thought that was a great way to start. Well, I've got goosebumps now thinking about it. That was the way to start the games and show them that you're ready for it, and gets you going, doesn't it? Gets the heart going.
100%.
Did you appreciate your title wins, your trophy wins, as much as maybe you look back now and think how good an achievement they are? In that moment, you win them.
I appreciated everything.
Did you?
Any game we won, any time we did well, I loved every minute of it. We had a few setbacks, and we thought we could win more, but especially if you're playing finals, it can go either way, as we know. But I appreciated everything. I felt it. It gave me, if at any time you're sort of thinking, I love it here. I want to play here forever. That was it. I did it at Ipswich, but it was, with Rangers, it was much more intense. It was much more, wow. You wanted.
You could see what it meant.
Yeah, you
I
see
think
what it
to
meant.
the fans.
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. And going. I tell you what, I was going to the supporters clubs. You used to go and you got Player of the Year and all that sort of thing, which was nice. And what do you want to get as a present? And they give you a present and all these sort of things. I got a cymbal once. Because I had a drum kit, so I got a cymbal. What about that? And I got a one iron as well. And I'm absolutely crap with a one iron still. You just ask for silly things,
Silly things.
But that brought you close.
Yeah.
You know what it's like. And then the fans haven't got that now. But it brings you close. Mind you, your eyes, you do three supporters clubs on a Saturday night after you played a game. And you don't drink, obviously, because you drive, but you're absolutely shattered on a Sunday. But it's just seeing their faces and the pictures and everything else. I mean, the men were kissing me more than the women. It was unbelievable. And you will see the tattoos on the women; they're brilliant. Yeah. It's fantastic.
So you speak about the influence that Graeme Souness had at Rangers. You've said there about a journalist speaking to players when you were away with England. Did you have any influence in any of the other England internationals that arrived at Rangers just after that?
Well, I don't. I'd like to think I did, but Souness would take me and Rita out for a meal with his wife, and then we'd go out for a meal, and there's some nice, lovely restaurants up here, and he would say, well, what about him, and what about him, and then he'd take you aside after training and say, look, we're thinking of this, what sort of player? So you'd say, yeah, because they're, like Trevor Francis and Ray Wilkins. I mean, extraordinary
Were you doing any
players.
of the legwork though, having the conversations with the players?
No, I just had a conversation with him, and then he took it on. He may have got somebody else, I don't know. But that was
there
it.
any you said and he didn't go and get?
I even went when I was ill. I was like, I had the flu or something, and he called me up, and I was lying in my bed, and I'm like, I said, Serena, what do I do? She says, you better go. So we're off for a meal, and I hardly ate anything. Well, you see, Graeme Souness, he didn't play many games for Rangers because of his injuries and being in charge, and he demolished bowls of like green beans, broccoli, he demolished it. I was like, wow, it was really an admiration of him. I mean, you can play football, you can eat as well. Bloody hell, look at the size of his thighs and everything else like that. He was a monster, wasn't he?
It's such an influence on so many people at Rangers, though.
Oh, yeah, he was. Souness.
Yeah,
he was. I mean, he used to, his team talk was like, we'd sit down and he'd come in with Walter, and he would say, right, he says, and here it comes. It was the same one every week. He says, if your concentration levels are good, he says, you win the game. If they're not good, you'll lose the game. Make sure your concentration levels are good. And then he walked out. And then we all went, right, he's gone now. And then Walter would give us a real team talk. And then off we go with Walter. You mark him and you do this and you take that and we're doing this and doing that. So,
obviously, Graeme Souness has been younger at the time and just finishing as a player. Contrast him to Sir Bobby Robson and their manager styles. How different?
It's night and day. It's completely different. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. I mean, the thing about when Graeme spoke to you, you didn't speak, he spoke. A little bit like Bobby, but Bobby would give you a chance, and Bobby spoke in a really friendly way, whereas Souness, it was always like you do this, you got to do it. This is what you do, boom, boom, boom. And it was done like instruction, like Souness would talk to his teammates on the pitch and all that sort of thing. Hey, you do it. You speak like that. Whereas Bobby would be like, right, son, you're doing great for me. Every time you play for me, he says, you never let me down. And if someone says that, it's brilliant. Mm-hmm. Souness never said, you never let me down. He just said, you got to do this, you got to do that, got to do that. So it's a different type, but you knew what he meant. But there was thankfully, there was Walter in the background. And you know Walter, he's the best. And there was Walter in the background, so you used to go to him and say things and ask him things, and he would come to you. And yeah, it was done in two ways. They weren't like good cop, bad cop. They were like bad cop sometimes all the time, and they would do that. But I was used to that at Ipswich, so I wasn't too bad. But when the manager speaks, you respect what he says. You might not always agree with it, but you respect it, and you do what he wants you to do.
I think it's an interesting one because, I mean, everybody, but Graeme Souness in terms of turning Rangers around and that, but we've seen the impact that Walter Smith had later, but there is no doubt he was still a huge part even in the early days as well.
Oh, yeah. He was a major part. Yeah. And Phil Borsma, the kid on physio, I think it was, his pal.
Just telling him he's okay.
That's his pal. Yeah, he used to breathe on you, and that made you go out and train. I felt better now. I feel better.
How tough was the leg break when it happens?
How tough was
your leg break?
To deal with it.
To deal with it, the injury.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I literally never saw it coming. I never saw Alec McLeish stick his foot out. I just had a shot, a typical centre-half shot, went 80 yards over the bar. And I was watching it go, and then I could feel the pain in my left leg, and that was it. But no, it was hard because I'd never had anything like that. I'd broken a fibula on the outside, played a few games with a broken fibula, but the pain was intense, and he ended up in Ross Hall, and that was it after that. And it never really healed quickly because I missed the Euros, and then 88 the next year for England. Good one to miss because we'd lost 3 games. My career was enhanced, but it was a case of just getting on with it. Went to Lilleshall and did all the right things. It was good, and in a way, it sort of like it made me appreciate more the opportunities that I had to still play, because you think you're going to play forever as a player. And I thought I've still got plenty of time left if I get back, and get back well, do the rehab, get it done properly, get your legs straight, get your power back and everything else. And I played the pre-season game the next season, and I played against Wraith Rovers. And I think there was one of the McStays was playing for Wraith Rovers. And I just went right through him as hard as I could. And I had a big crack on my shin pads. And I thought, oh, and I could stand on it. And I thought, oh, good test.
So see, just in that moment, though, when you're injured, and you talked about getting relegated for Ipswich and how hard it was for you.
Yeah.
So you're injured, Celtic start winning. How tough's that for you then at that point?
Well, it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
And you feel completely helpless because you can't do anything about it. What you can do is sort of motivate the players and speak to them and see if they're okay and all that sort of thing. That was really hard. So it was probably the 88, they won the title, and it was from Christmas onwards. And then I got the news a little bit later on that I was not going to be available for Rangers and for England. And then you see at the end of the season, and you couldn't wait for the end of the season to come because we obviously weren't going to be champions. And then it's then have a good summer and then get on with it again. But and you know what it's like when you lose a title to Celtic or anything to Celtic, even a game or anything else. You want to bounce back quickly the next time and really turn the table sort of thing. That's what you want to do. And there's always a driving force within Scotland for me. Everything was driven. Meeting fans, seeing teams beat you, which is horrible, but it drives you on.
Yeah.
You're having a mishit pass or a bad control or a good control, or you score a goal. I scored more own goals and goals, but in the right net, it was lovely. You know what it's like. You know how you feel, and it lifts you. There's things that really can lift you, not trigger points, but they're things that can really lift you. And that was what, because games came thick and fast.
Yeah.
It's good, particularly when you're in Europe and the League Cup and the FA Cup and Scottish Cup. The games come thick and fast. So, you're on to the next one, on to the next one. What drives you forward even more? Revenge or keep it going, keep the good work going. So that was, and I turned that and used that every chance I could.
Criminal record?
Yeah.
You were the backup for Woodsy. Woodsy tried it and then you came as a backup, didn't you?
Yeah, and then Robbo's knocked him out. So there was me and Woodsy softened him up and Robbo came in and did the blow and got away with it. Oh.
What can you remember of that day?
Well, I remember before that, I was charged by a Rangers supporting policeman in my bed at home. It obviously broke my leg. I had a full-length plaster on from the hip down to my toes. And he came in and he was on the radio, and they had to do the charging of the 4 of us at exactly the same time. And he's on the radio, right, when should I do it? When should I do it? Okay, countdown. And he would go, big man, he says, I'm really sorry. He says, I've got to do this. It's my job. He says, That's the last place I want to be. He says, charging you with breach of the peace. And I was like, well, don't do it then. And he's like, I've got to do it. I said, well, don't do it then. He's not got to do it. And then the radio came on, right, here we go. So then he charged me. So it's obviously never been charged, but I was charged later on after that for breach of the peace and vandalism up at Aberdeen. But that's another story. So I've been charged a few times in my life, but then we didn't have but we just charged, and then of course all of a sudden we thought it was just going to be dropped, an inquiry and a fine and a ban and all that sort of thing. Well, that's enough, and then we get summoned to court and go to court. That was a joke. That was an absolute joke. We used to come in. I mean, plaster off by then. We used to come into Ibrox early, say 8 o'clock, something like that, and go in the sauna. Remember that sauna there?
Yeah.
And have a shave in the sauna for the court, and then we'd go along, and then we'd have lunch, and then we'd come back. So all week we were in court. It was bizarre, absolutely bizarre. I said, I'm just a normal peace-loving guy. My dad was obviously military, and I don't want to upset him by getting a criminal record or anything like that. But we never thought we were going to get done. And then, of course, on the Friday when we get charged, when we were up in dock and were asked to stand. It was like, I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Woodsy got done. I think Woodsy got done first. £500 fine, breach of the peace, guilty. I got £250 fine, guilty of breach of the peace. And then Robbo came up, and I thought, well, he's going to get more than me because, more than Woodsy, because he's actually him. And then he got not proven. Like, we were all going, what's not proven? What's not proven? What's not proven? And then we got told, we were like, you're joking, aren't you? So I says to Robbo, I'm in the dock, and I'm like, you lucky beep.
What about Macca?
And then
Macca
got off. I couldn't believe he instigated it. He started it all off, and then he got off.
Do you still speak to him?
I don't speak to McAvenny, I tell you now. I got asked onto his podcast, and I said, that's the last place I'm going to go. I'm going to speak to him again. I tell you, I've got an unfinished business with McAvenny, I tell you. Twit.
It's nice to see you've let it go.
Yeah, I don't let things go. That's the whole point. You probably come on to that, but don't let things go. No, and I'm not going to let it go.
Tell you, how did you break the news to your father?
It took a while for me to phone him. It took a while. And no, he was all right with it, but it's sort of a stain on your career. Now, I was at my golf club, and I spoke to the ex-policeman, and I said, just out of interest, I said, is my criminal record a breach of the peace, and how did it happen? He said, and he described it. He says, no, he says, that won't be expunged. He says, because it's a served sentence or charge, so you won't be expunged. So I'll have that for the rest of my time on my. Has that
held you back with anything else? No,
not at all.
No,
not
you
at
could
all.
have used it as an excuse for something.
I kicked more doors in after that and did everything else.
Just before we move on to management, I want to just touch on the World Cup and the what has been such a big moment over the years, talking about the World Cup. What are your memories of it? What is your feelings about it all?
What, which one?
Maradona.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. I was hoping you were going to go somewhere else. No, I will never let that go. Just won't, because he's never apologised for it. And I never saw it, to be honest. When I was there, I was about 15 yards away from him and never saw it. I blame.
So see, when you say you didn't see it, when it's in and your teammates are raging, they're away celebrating.
Yeah.
What's good? Are you a fully 100% he's handballed it?
No.
So what is your reaction to it?
Well, I think if we get a crowd of players, he might just disallow it. So I said, then we're strength in numbers, and I just followed it. And Terry Fenwick was doing this, and I think Glenn Hoddle was doing this, and I started doing this because I never saw it. I actually never saw it. It was there's a bit of a conspiracy here, because the ball went to Stevie Hodge just outside our penalty area, and he hooks it back for Peter Shilton to catch it, because you could play the ball back then, and the keeper could handle it. And I think I was sort of not half turning away. I think, well, Peter's got that, or he's going to punch it, or punch Maradona, or something like that. And then, of course, he scores. And then, obviously, after the game, who gets his share? Stevie Hodge. He makes the back pass. It's allowed the goal to happen, and he gets 7.14 million. And I thought, you sort of think, He actually phoned the players up that day and said, thanks very much, and he wants to offer us a fee.
Who did?
Stevie Hodge.
Did he? After
Did he
sold it?
hell? Did he hell? Are you stupid or what, for goodness sake? No chance. 7.14.
Just on that,
Did that change your opinion on Maradona as a player? Because he was arguably one of the best.
well, wait a minute, take that question in isolation. Who's the best player in history for you?
Best player in history. But best player played against is Maradona.
No, just the best player in the world. You've got Maradona, Pele, Ronaldo, Messi.
Pele for me.
So where do you use Pele was better?
Yeah.
And is that because of...
Yeah, but to be fair, I seen an interview that you'd done just going into that 86 and you said Maradona. So that must have changed.
Before the game, before the tournament.
But is what happened with Maradona...
Did that change
your mindset?
Did that change?
It changed my sort of feelings for him as a person, because he didn't admit to it, but not as a player. It didn't change my feelings.
No, you're
as a
still
player.
thinking Pele was the best.
But I saw Maradona in '82 in the World Cup, and he was kicked off the park, really, the Italians especially. And you sort of thought, well, but the progress he made after that was very good, very strong. And he sort of, you looked at him during the World Cup, and you're like, wow. And someone said to me, you're up against Maradona now. How are you going to deal with him? And I said, kick him. I said, everybody laughed and that sort of thing. And I was like, no, I'll kick him. If I can get close to him, I'll kick him. I never got close to him.
Mm-hmm.
All I saw was the back of his head, because I never saw how he looked, because he's chasing this boy across the pitch.
You've obviously given some team talks in your time. We've all been part of some iconic team talks, and you can remember them. Tell us what was said in the dressing room before that game. Like, how do you go about stopping him? And I know you're saying kick him, but I mean, he was unbelievable.
Well, when he gets the ball, crowd him. Just get as many bodies around the ball as you could. But whatever tactic you employ or try to employ, you couldn't get it done, because he was so aware. He had a low centre of gravity. He could move quick. He had a lovely left foot, and he was good control. The pitch was awful that day. It was a terrible pitch, long grass, muddy, claggy, horrible.
Did you take a groundsman out there with you as well to try and stop him?
No. Well, we were out there a year before with Bobby Robson prepared us. We were going out to the Azteca before, but they came onto the pitch with these sort of steel sort of plunger things, and it was like a footprint where when there was a divot or something, they would plunge this down and lift it up. Yeah. And they watered it too much or whatever, because it was really hot. And it was like something. It was like the moon landing with all these like footprints all over the pitch, and they were uneven and everything else like that. But your Maradona was one that you tried to crowd him out and everything else, but he was an absolute genius. Yeah. He really was, and he created goals. He scored goals. He was the figurehead for them. And we just couldn't stop him. He was too good for us.
After that game, I'm pretty certain you would not have been thinking you'll have been meeting him when you were the Scotland assistant, and he's the Argentina manager in 2008.
Well, I met him in the drugs room immediately after that game in '86.
Did you?
Yeah. And I went out. We were in sort of well apart, obviously, at the time. And I went like this or like that, because I couldn't speak Spanish. Yeah. And he went like this. So I was like, oh, okay, fair play. Yeah. So he's a lying little git.
How was 2008 then when you come up against him?
Yeah, well, I told you one about John Hartson for Scotland.
Yeah, when you were assistant.
Yeah.
Did that become awkward? No.
Well, I did because the assistant managers it was George, wasn't it? The assistant managers do the press on the Monday. That's what happened. The game was on the Wednesday. And so I said to the press, I said, I don't want to do this, because it's going to be the handball, and it's going to be this, it's going to be about Maradona. I said, it's Scotland versus Argentina. Yeah. It's not Terry Butcher versus Maradona. Yeah. I said, so I don't want to do it. But they made me do it. So I had to go up there. I knew the questions that were coming and all that sort of thing. And then they were talking. I didn't want to talk. I said, it's not about Maradona. I was trying to get out of it. Then they said, when you see him, but maybe before the game, will you shake his hand? And I thought, what do I do here? Do I say, you must be joking? Or do I say, yes, I will? And I was torn between them. And I sort of said, I don't think so. Something like that along their lines. That it was going to be a negative. That wasn't going to happen. I said, I don't think we'll meet. And I tried to go over it. And I think. And ironically, in '86, I was selected for the UNICEF game, charity game, just after the World Cup. as in San Diego. It was a one-off, Americas versus the rest of the world. And everybody must have dropped out because they asked me to go. So I hadn't gone to Rangers at that time. So I says, okay, fine. Well, it'd be great. You know, all these different players and all that sort of thing. So Beckenbauer was the manager. So we went out and played the game. I scored in that. Strachan crossed the ball and I miraculously scored in the opponent's net, not my own net. Scored. And then who scored the winning penalty? It was 2-2, Maradona. So he's done me twice. He did me twice in about a month. I mean, that's probably one of the reasons why I don't particularly like him.
What about Italia 90? You obviously missed out in 88, but Italia 90?
Yeah, but I went there and we'd obviously won the title 89 and 90, so we're on a good run from Rangers, and we had a lot of players in the England team as well at that time. The most from any club represented with England in the Italia 90, and but I went into it not on form. Not really on form. I didn't feel comfortable. My knees were sore, especially my left one. I had a bad knee, and I'm thinking I need an operation as soon as possible after the World Cup. See how long we go. So I went there, and we played Tunisia away. The game before we went actually into Italy for the World Cup, in a friendly in Tunisia, and we drew 1-1. It was an awful game, and I headbutted the centre half for Tunisia. It was a peach. I got him a peach headbutt because there's a free kick for us, 0-0. And Gazza's on the free kick. And I went up and I was looking at Gazza. But the guy that was marking me wasn't watching the ball or the goal. He had his arms out like that. So I couldn't move either side. And the goals were behind him. I think it was like this. So I've tried to move. And I've just said, look, I couldn't speak Tunisian or whatever it is. And I just said, look, mate, this, no, me, this, you, like this. So I think hopefully got the point.
You got the message.
But he obviously didn't get the message because I nodded to Gazza and Gazza put the ball in and I knew that he was going to block me. So I just went boom with my head, ran with my head down and I caught him right in the cheekbone and he crashed to the floor. And the referee came over and looked at the guy and he gave me a yellow card. I thought, disappointed with that. It should have at least been a red card. So then he got up. So eventually, and then Bobby took me off later on in the game, and we got an equaliser. I think Mark Haley scored the equaliser. It was 1-1, and then we went off, and we went over to Italy then with the squad. Got into the team hotel for the World Cup, everything else like that. And Bobby says, right, he says, we're going to play the replay of the Tunisian game in the video, just, bits and pieces and all that sort of thing. Now, Bobby had backed me. Bobby asked me, did you headbutt the player? And I says, no, Gaffer, definitely not. So I thought, I better say that because I want to get in the team. So then he says, okay, fine. So he went to the press and slaughtered the guy for acting and diving, had a right go at the Tunisian team, trying to get my players sent off and all this sort of thing. And then we had a team meeting. We're at the team meeting and I'm thinking, this is not going well. And then it came across and you saw the headbutt from me. It was a cracker. And all the boys went, way, go on, boys, go on. And I'm in the seat like this. And Bobby's gone, I want to work with you. He says, I've defended you. He says, I've slaughtered their players. I've slaughtered their FA. He says, I've gone right out on a limb here and you have let me down. And I thought, well, there's no chance of me starting this World Cup at all. But I did start the World Cup, but no, it was brutal. I know you, Butcher, I know you.
When you come to the end of playing, management becomes the next step. You've talked about Bobby Robson, Graeme Souness. Was it always on your mind? I'm going into management, coaching.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I didn't do any badges. I mean, when you're international, you're playing lots of games midweek. It's very hard to get away and do the courses. And I was still playing. But there was a player manager mode at that time with Souness and other people as well. But I wanted to be a player. I wanted to see. I felt I could play another couple of years at least. And I went down to Leeds, and Howard Wilkinson and I signed on a deal to be a Leeds player. And they obviously wanted to win the championship or the title the next few years. And I was driving home and got a call from the owner of Coventry and said, would you be my player manager? And he told me the price, or the fee. Not the fee, my wages. And I was like, oh yeah, for me it was a bonus. I was never big about money. It was just about your progression and all this sort of thing, understanding. So I had to ring Howard and just say, I'm sorry, but I can't sign. I'm going to be a player manager in the first division with another club. And he said, what club? And I says, Coventry. And he said 2 words, good luck, and put the phone down. And that was it.
And when you going in there, do you look at what happened at Rangers and how Graeme Souness built the revolution, and are you thinking, I can replicate that Coventry?
Well,
even though
you can never replicate what Bobby did and what Bobby does. But you use the good things from him, and you use the good things from Souness and Walter. You use all the things that you think can help you become a good manager and understand what it is. I was a manager at 31 in the top flight in English football. There aren't that many that young. Davie Cooper was 28 because he finished early with his injuries at Palace. And I thought, I'm going to give this a go. And you try and just you sink or swim. And a lot of the players, when I did my first team talk at Coventry, had been promised my job, so promised to be manager. So it was pretty tense.
So
but
does the reality then not weigh up to what you've actually stepped into and what you think compared to the reality of it? Is that totally different because
it
of
hits
that?
you right between the eyes. You understand the job then, because you're normally in that lineup in those boys. Yeah. You're in one of them. Now you're facing those boys. So the responsibility now is for everybody. Instead, it was normally for one person. That was me and the family, of course. But yeah, you have to really, understand it very quickly. It's tough, and you're looking at signing players, you're looking at wages, you're looking at arrangements and logistics and all these kind of things.
But still trying to play.
And still trying to play.
So how difficult?
It was impossible.
Yeah.
Absolutely impossible. And
because it was the thing. There was a lot of player managers back then. Like, why? Why?
Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah, but why though? I mean, if you went there. I mean, obviously the management side of it ticked a few boxes, but you've said it yourself. You still wanted to play.
Yeah.
But the pressures. When you look back at it now, the amount of owners that said, "Oh, I'm going to bring you in as a player," it would have been difficult.
Well, you talk about pressure. Yeah. You're double pressure as a player and as a manager.
Yeah.
So do you take yourself off or sub you? What subs do you make? But you talk to my number. I talk with the number 2. And you'd say, this and this and this. You don't actually plan it. The 75th minute he comes off and he goes off. It's just how you see it for the feel of the game. And do you change tactics?
Plus, in the game as you're playing, you get caught up in that a lot of times as well.
You do. It's an impossible job. Yeah. And I found it impossible. I only played about 7 times for Coventry in about 18 months because I wanted to learn and understand it. But we were doing okay. We were getting things. Older players were leaving, younger ones were coming through, especially the youths, and you sort of thought, yeah, this is really nice. And it was a lovely place to live. Yeah. And I understood it. And I think when that happens, you think, I can do this. And then we hit a run around Christmas that wasn't particularly good. We dropped down to about 16th out of 21, 22 teams. So they were worried. And then the board changed at Coventry. Yeah. So the guy that appointed me, John Poynton, he left. Yeah. The board changed, and of course, what does the new board do? Wants their own person in. So then I got the sack, and I had to take them to court then for unfair dismissal, and it took 2 years to get into the High Court in Holborn, the High Court, and we were there 2 days in the High Court. A week was reserved for the case, and I had to get a barrister, and I had to get all this and all that. And then they settled on the 3rd day. I was due to go in the dock. I was due to be interviewed and be interrogated. Yeah. And I thought, this is going to be the worst day of my life. And luckily, they settled that morning. And I was sigh of relief. Yeah. And I eventually got some money, not all of it, but some money.
But you ended up back at Clydebank, Davie Cooper?
Yeah. Davie Cooper, yeah. Davie Cooper rang me up. He said he'd never be a coach. Yeah, he loved it. He loved the coaching side. And he said, come back and play. But my knees weren't great, and I had a 4-match deal sort of thing. There was hardly any money sort of thing. It wasn't about the money. So to play with Davie again was brilliant. But we lost 3 out of the 4, and I was not asked to play. I was asked not to play the next one, so I didn't play the 4th one. But we lost all 3. Yeah.
Some of your best times in management from the outside are probably in Scotland.
Oh yeah.
Inverness, Motherwell. Why? What fitted? What was the fit?
Well, we've seen with, say, Amorim for Manchester United. He's unbelievable success in Portugal, titles, this and cups here and everything else. And he goes to Man United and hasn't had the same impact. It can happen, but I didn't have a great impact with Coventry and then Sunderland as well as player manager there, and it sort of, what do I say, knocks you down and knocks your confidence even, enormously. But then went to Inverness and joined them in January. We eventually got relegated in May, but we gave it a right good go. I think we lost out by 1 goal or something like that, or 1 point. And then we went down and then kept the squad together and then came back up. But I was lucky that the chairman of Inverness, George Fraser, allowed me to stay on. And we didn't start the season particularly well. And around about Christmas time, we went on a 21-match unbeaten run to the end of the season. And we were something like 10, 13, 12, 13 points behind Dundee and finished about 14 ahead of them. He had an unbelievable run. Yeah. And it just came together.
Yeah. And it must hurt to see what Inverness are going through right now.
Yeah, it does hurt because it's a great club. Yeah. It's an unbelievable place to live. It really is. A lot of travelling, but you get used to it.
What takes you to Inverness, right? You could easily have been, it's not going to be for the money. The commuting and moving is another thing, as you say. Before you went up there, did you know it was such a nice place to live? Well, probably not. So what is it that takes you to Inverness?
It's just the potential, just to see what. Yeah, I think we can do this. Maurice Malpass came with me. He was brilliant, and it just felt right. And you're treated really well. The people are lovely, and the players you're able to get players there. And the thing about going to Inverness as a player was the wages weren't very good, and the agents got absolutely nothing sort of thing from us because we couldn't afford the wages. We were on about $1 million a year budget in the Premier League, SPFL, Premiership, whatever it was. So the hook was come up here, play a season, sign a 1-year deal, play a season, and improve. We'll improve you. We'll try and do this for you and all that sort of thing. We're bringing some players that are hungry, players that have been released by clubs with potential, younger ones especially. Come to us, and we'll get you a bigger deal. We'll hopefully get you you yourself.
Get a platform to move on.
A platform to move on down south again. Bigger wages, bigger clubs. That's the hook, and that's what you can do, because we think you can do this when you brought them up to talk about things. Yeah. We think you can do this. We are convinced. I hadn't seen these players. I didn't know how they played. I didn't know where they played. But Steve Marcella, who was my goalkeeping coach and chief scout, he knew, and he had contacts that knew these players, and we'd sign a lot of players that on a contract sort of thing. Because when you're being released, your contract's up at an English club. The club, if the club wants to keep you, it has to offer you terms of at least equal with your existing contract. But yet they have to, I think it's something like 60 days. They have to give you an offer 60 days or more, not less than 60, for you to stay, for them to get a fee on you if you do go. Mm-hmm. I haven't explained it particularly well, but Stevie always used to nip in and get players up to us for nothing, because you could change associations. So you're going down to the SFA rather than the FA. So we used to get a lot of clubs didn't like us very much because we used to pinch their players. They were trying to get a fee on. so the contract sort of changed, but we used to get players up like that. But I'd never seen them. I never saw probably about 80%, if not more, of the players that we signed.
So put trust in your staff.
Like Johnny Hayes. Yeah. Loads of players that we'd signed.
There must be a real sense of achievement for what you actually managed to do.
Oh, it was remarkable. We signed 7 players on one day. We didn't actually sign the players on one day. We'd signed them before, but we announced it on one day. And every club's going, 7 players in one day? I don't think anyone else has signed 7 players in one day.
Obviously, Command that had done it at 11. Done 11 players.
Did they do 11 in one day?
Yeah, I remember that when Lee Clark arrived, yeah. So, Motherwell, you've had fantastic times. Hibs, tell us how the call comes around for such an iconic figure in the English game to be the assistant manager of Scotland.
Well, I remember talking to George about it, and I said, George, are you mad? Are you absolutely crazy? Do you not want the job at all? I'll get you the sack. I said, I'll get you the sack. And he's no. He says, I want you to be there. You know how I am and what I want to do, because he'd had a successful time as a manager. He was a very well respected manager. He was at Southampton, I think, at the time, and he got a lot of young players through there. So I said. No, I said we had to think about this. We thought long and hard about it, and Yeah, well, okay, fine. Are you sure? I keep asking him, are you sure? I think right up to the end, I keep asking you, are you sure? Were you sure about that? But yeah, so we did it. And I thought, I'm going to get pelters here, but I don't care because at the end of the day, I want to help George. So it was interesting. But the best thing is, you know what it's like, you're in one of the squads. So the best thing is you're training the best players in the country. Mm-hmm. And when you see the standard of the training, wow, it was just incredible. And the players, every one of them, just wanted to be tested. They want to be, you're like developing a session. You do 2 or 3 progressions and then finish off with a game and all that. They were brilliant. The lads were brilliant. It was great. Started off with a bit of a booze up, but it was part of it.
We'll come on to that in a minute.
I've never been so glad to leave it night before.
I've got a question. Just, I was very young at that stage getting into the international team. From your point of view, why were they not as successful? Because like you said, the group of players was a good group of players. Why? What's your take on the Scotland team not being successful at that time?
There were still factions in the group. There was Celtic, Rangers especially, and the others on the periphery. So there's like 3 groups, and we never sort of. I didn't with England especially. You left your club badge at the hotel door. You could sit on any table with any colour, any player. But it had an edge. It was in a bit of a transitional period anyway as well. So it never really gelled. And I think George felt it, especially with the international squad. It's not like club football. Yeah. And you're going to get a team that plays together every week. With internationals, there's going to be absences, there's going to be suspensions, there's injuries. So you're not going to get the same team. So you can't build up a lot of really good relationships. Mm-hmm. And the international games come thick and fast, don't they? It was all changed from our time. Yeah. It's now like a week or 2 weeks international break. So he never got that. And it was strange because there's so many really good players, and it just didn't happen. And I think it doesn't happen as well when the first game was in Macedonia and it was like 40 degrees. Yeah. And then you go to Iceland a few days later and playing like minus 40 degrees or whatever it was. So it wasn't helped. It's just one of them ones where it was never going to click. Yeah. How you felt? How did you feel?
As I said, I think that was it. And there was a lot of. There was still that.
The Celtic Rangers thing. There
was still definitely that there. And I think, we'll touch on Boozegate in a minute, but when you look, there was still a culture that you could still get away with probably being a bad professional as well. Whereas you look at it now and everything's strict. Yeah. And there's no doubt that when you look back, and that's where I think you've got to take your hat off to this group of players and in recent times. There's maybe not been so many Rangers and Celtic players, so that's not been a problem in terms of the rivalry, but you look at the professionalism from everybody as well. They're on it all the time.
You nailed it there by saying the different groups. Yeah. And it's not us consciously, we don't like that. It's just a subconscious thing that happens because you're more comfortable around them. But that definitely impacted, I think, the national team.
Yeah, I think, there's probably a history of that as well. So it's not actually much has changed, and obviously it has now. Yeah. But I felt, I'm looking at it now, I looked at the squad that we had with George at that time, and then look at the squad now, and the squad, I think, is far more superior to the squad that there is now. When you look at players and internationals and all that sort of thing, I think that the quality that we had with that Scotland squad, then you look at it now and you say, well, this is a team now. It's a real team and it's together. Yeah. Whereas I don't think Scotland was together.
I agree with that. I agree with in terms of that togetherness. There is no doubt that right now there's some really, really good individuals within this group right now, but when you look at the togetherness, that's one thing that separates this group of players from a lot of international teams for me. And you're right, 100%. Because when you think back of, Barry was unbelievable player.
Scott Brown.
It was Brown. What do you call it? Fletch. Faddy. There was Kenny Miller. There was loads. There was top players that if we're on to Hall of Fame.
Gordon in goal.
Craig Gordon. There was loads.
So just getting on to Boozegate, you would have been in the thick of it if you were there.
Hey,
but he wasn't there.
I was in the thick of it.
Can you tell us about it? What
Absolutely
What
nothing to do with me.
happened? Why did it happen? How did it unfold so badly?
Well, George says, look, because the boys were going to have a drink. And it was, it just met up that night. We'd all met up. Hadn't trained, but we met up. So after the meal, George went. He says, like, look after them, that sort of thing. And so I says, okay, I'll do my best. And I'm thinking, I got a right test in my hand. I'm look at this. So then it all started, didn't it? And it all started. Then we started drinking and all that sort of thing. And I got to the point where I'm looking at me watch and I'm thinking, well, I've had a good few pints. The boys have had a real good few pints. Right, lads. I said. Right, lads, let's cool your jets and all that sort of thing. And a few started to go and all that sort of thing. And I thought, well, I've got to trust them, and hopefully that they'll do that. But they didn't. They just carried on. It was like, sod off, butcher, bang, like that, get out of the way. This is it. No. So then they went on, and we didn't know anything about it till the next day. And then there's all the reports coming to you, like with George, it'd be like, oh my God, the boys have been there and they're still drunk and all that sort of thing. Oh yeah, it was unpleasant. I didn't, and there was a situation where you're never going to win.
No.
Yeah.
As the head coach and the coach, you're never going to win. It's going to come out, and it will come out, or it's probably on the way of being out anyway. That lunchtime, and it was just, what do you do then? And it wasn't then up to us. It was up to the boffins to the head, to do it, go ahead with what they did. It was awful, really, because I've been in some drinking sessions with players.
Oh.
We used to do that when we played for England.
Yeah.
We would go West Lodge Park, and Ron Greenwood would say, right, lads, he says, have your meal. He says, then you'll probably go out and pick the team. He says, well, pick a good team for me, will you, this week? And he would let us go out, and we used to go out and drink. Terry McDermott's and all these people, and oh my God, it was a top level drinking team, and we used to have a few drinks. In fact, in my first squad, I went out and I came back and I was sick. I was ill in the room. And Bill Taylor was the coach with Ron Greenwood, and he came into my room the next day and he just said, right, he says, you will have learned your lesson, won't you? And I says, yeah, don't keep drinking pace to pace, beer with Terry McDermott. And I'll never do that again. And I never did it again. But that's what it was.
Yeah.
But in those days, you didn't have
the media presence.
Yeah.
But so say on that next day where it's collateral damage, how do we repair this, or how do we navigate this? Is there a few options on the table here? How does it play out?
There's a few options. No, and I think what the committee would have probably said, I don't know if they did or not, we've got to make an example. You've got to try and nip it in the bud now. It's going to get out, but nip it in the bud now and just make sure that you make a decision that is going to, stop it, bang, and then, let's park that. Mm. But it never got parked.
No.
It didn't get parked.
No.
And then the media just had a field day. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Manna from heaven for the media, it really was.
So
it was awful. It was the tensions and everything else like that. It was a disaster.
And it's probably hard to pull that back.
I can't even remember the result for the game. I can't even remember it.
No.
No.
There was
so there we go. Mark O'Neill back in management, 73-year-old.
Yeah.
Have we any chance of seeing a Terry Butcher back?
Well, hang on a minute. Funny you should say that.
Are we getting an exclusive here?
Here we go.
No, you're not in exclusives. No, I never give a what.
That's your diary for next week.
Is diary,
Is that a list of players for training?
For?
No. Where are you going?
If I did go back to management, these are my rules.
I like it.
Okay. No knees over the socks for the players. No holes in the socks. So what is all that about, the holes in the socks? What is that? No hairbands? Well, you wouldn't have hairbands. No short-sleeved shirts and gloves. I can't believe that. What is that?
What's the point?
Man-for-man marking at set pieces, corners especially.
What if statistically Zonal's better?
Well, I couldn't care less. That's what I know. I wouldn't sign you. You're barrack room lawyer. You're a barrack room lawyer. No. And I'd leave one or two up front.
Yeah.
Why not do that? Goal celebrations. What is all that about? Sliding on the knees. What is all that about?
You don't like that?
No. Well, I've got 2 knee replacements, so I wouldn't.
You don't need to do the sliding thing. Obviously didn't score a lot of goals because you get fed up celebrating, you need to come up with new ones.
I even started to celebrate my own goals, I'll tell you that. And then throw-ins to feet, not aerial challenges. You know,
What about long throws there?
Long
Bang
throws.
fashion.
What about that? Yeah,
Box.
long throws. Yeah, I mean, why not do it? But why did we stop doing it?
Yeah.
Because it's unfashionable. Well, now it's fashionable.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
So,
welcome.
is there a chance of coming back?
No.
Pulling the
I
tracksuit
don't think
back
anybody
on.
would actually adhere to those rules. But that's my observation. I just feel it's gone. The sort of thing. There's lots of things have overtaking.
But do you not think everything goes in a full circle?
Oh,
and
yeah.
And you will have seen that many times, surely.
Yeah, it will do. I mean, some clubs now are playing 4-4-2.
Yeah.
And I still think 4-4-2 is a good system, but you've got to get people that know it, especially, particularly the strike. One of the strikers just drops off.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have loved that role, just dropping off and linking play or getting beyond and all that. And it's not all about systems, but 4-4-2 can generally cope with any system. It's just this way of playing now. You just play out from the back. We used to play out from the back. You get the ball to the fullbacks, not so much us as centre halves. Get the ball to the fullbacks. Have two strikers, then you've got at least 2 or 3 options as to play a long ball. But play more long balls. And they're doing that now.
It's coming back.
It's coming back.
One last question before we finish. We always hear it's coming home from the English fans. Did you genuinely believe 86 and 90 you could have won any of those World Cups?
I think 90 we thought we could win it.
Yeah.
And we knew that the semi-final against West Germany would be the final, really, because Argentina and Maradona were in the final, and that would have been great to play against them then. But they had a lot of injuries and suspensions in the semi-final. So they were going to have a very much weakened team. So we felt that whoever wins this game, the semi, we could get there.
Yeah.
Even in 82, we never lost a game in 82. Yeah. But we went out because they had these groups of 3, which they'd never had since.
Yeah.
And 86, we thought we could do it. We thought we had a really bad start. And then we played against Poland in the last game and won 3-0, and played against... who was I can't remember the team now, but we won 3-0. And it was one, we got momentum now. And it's not about starting well, it's just like finishing well in the World Cup. You start off poorly. You know, Italy in 82 started off poorly and then went and won it. You gain momentum. And we started to gain momentum till we hit that little brick wall called Maradona. So that was it. But I bet you were celebrating. You weren't even born then, were you?
82, no. 86, can't really remember a lot of it. 90, I can remember. 90, I can remember. 94, England weren't there.
Of course.
98, France. It's the last one for
Scotland
as
well.
well.
A wee bit of a cheer.
I just love it. I love it now. You know.
Well, yeah, but I'll reverse that, because when Scotland went out, we used to cheer when they lost their last group game, because they haven't gone past the group game anyway, I must say. But no, but then they went out and the whole roof nearly come off the hotel, the team hotel, because all the English were watching it. So you don't have exclusivity to actually hating the English. It is responded by us, but I think it's great, and I love playing against Scotland at Wembley. I loved it at Hampden as well. It was great. I've actually seen a Scottish supporter with a kilt on headbutt our English coach. The bus. The bus. He headbutted the bus. He knocked himself out. It was hilarious. This was on the way to the game. It was hilarious. Hey, brilliant. What a brave man.
What a way to end.
He's probably in hospital.
Remember to like and subscribe and never miss an episode of The Warm Up.